Medvedev vows Russia will retaliate against Ukraine's attacks.
Russia will undoubtedly respond to Ukraine's recent attacks on its territory, despite ongoing diplomatic efforts to find a peaceful solution to the conflict. Russian Security Council Deputy Chairman Dmitry Medvedev has declared. His remarks followed sabotage operations on Russian rail infrastructure, allegedly carried out by Ukrainian forces, and a wave of drone strikes targeting multiple Russian airbases over the weekend. Nevertheless, Russian officials arrived in Istanbul, Turkey on June 2nd for direct peace talks with Ukrainian representatives. In a social media post, Medvedev addressed domestic calls for stronger military action, stating that Russian retaliation is inevitable. Our armed forces are in a state of active offensive and will keep moving forward. Everything that must be destroyed will be destroyed. Everyone who must be eliminated will be eliminated, he wrote. Medvedev emphasized that the negotiations in Istanbul are necessary to secure our victory as quickly as possible and to eliminate neo-Nazi ideology from Ukraine completely. During the talks, Moscow reportedly proposed two pathways toward a ceasefire and suggested a temporary pause in fighting to recover fallen soldiers from the battlefield. In response, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky criticized the Russian proposal, asserting that any ceasefire would only serve to reduce Russian casualties and stall Ukraine's momentum. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov called Zelensky's comments embarrassing and regrettable, saying they undermined progress in peace negotiations.
Ukraine's strategy behind striking key Russian targets at this critical moment.
Ukraine has carried out a major bombing operation targeting the vital road and rail bridge connecting Crimea to mainland Russia, reportedly damaging several underwater support pillars of the structure. Ukraine's security service, SBU, has officially claimed responsibility for the attack. This marks the second large-scale Ukrainian strike in just a few days, following a June 1st drone operation that targeted Russia's strategic bomber fleet with a swarm of unmanned aerial vehicles. These high-profile attacks come on the heels of Ukraine's confirmed invitation to the NATO summit later this month. President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that excluding Ukraine from the summit would be a victory for Russia. The latest strike on the 19-kilometer Kerch Bridge, a symbol of Russian control over Crimea, inaugurated by President Vladimir Putin in 2018, appears to be a calculated move. Analysts suggest Kyiv is trying to challenge former US President Donald Trump's belief that Ukraine has little leverage in peace negotiations. The bridge bombing, despite being heavily guarded by Russian forces, follows Ukraine's drone assault on air bases deep inside Russian territory. According to Zelensky, that operation damaged up to 34% of Russia's cruise missile bomber fleet. On June 3rd, Russia's investigative committee also accused Ukraine of terrorist acts after two railway bridges were bombed over the weekend. Russian authorities report that 70 people were killed and 113 injured, including children, when two trains collided due to the sabotage. The SBU revealed the Kerch Bridge attack was months in the making and used an explosive payload equivalent to over 1 ton of TNT. This marks the third time Ukraine has targeted Russia's vital supply route since Moscow launched its so-called special military operation in 2022. Lieutenant General Vasyl Maliuk, head of the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, and the mastermind behind the latest attack, defended the operation by stating that the bridge was a completely legitimate target, as it was being used to supply Russian forces. The strike comes as Russia warned against expecting a swift breakthrough in ongoing negotiations over the conflict. Moscow has rejected Kyiv's call for an unconditional ceasefire during recent talks held in Istanbul. Instead, Russia proposed a partial ceasefire along select sections of the front line. According to Russian media, the Kremlin's delegation presented Ukraine with a document demanding the withdrawal of Ukrainian forces from 4 eastern and southern regions that Russia claims to have annexed, a precondition for pausing the conflict. Meanwhile, Ukrainian Presidential Chief of Staff Andriy Yermak has traveled to the United States along with Deputy Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko to push for tougher sanctions against Russia. "We plan to discuss defense support, battlefield developments, and strengthening sanctions against Russia," Yermak stated on Telegram. According to analysts, Ukraine's recent high-profile strikes appear to be carefully calculated signals aimed at President Vladimir Putin, sending the message that continuing the war will carry serious risks for Moscow, even if Ukrainian forces currently lack the ability to achieve a major breakthrough. All of this is designed to convince the Russians that now is the time for serious negotiations. Whether Kyiv will succeed or not, I don't know, said James M. Acton, co-director of the Nuclear Policy Program at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, in an interview with the New York Times. Acton noted that ending the conflict remains difficult, in part because any side that believes it can still win has little incentive to negotiate seriously or offer concessions. He also pointed out that Ukraine's attacks may be intended to instill fear among Russian decision-makers about other vulnerable targets Ukraine could strike in the future. Potential targets include weapons manufacturing plants, military training facilities, and even Russia's nuclear submarine fleet, although that fleet has not yet been used in the war. There are many things Ukraine could target that would create problems for the Russians. You simply can't protect everything, Acton warned.